Good evening, everyone. It's probably obvious, but I want to be a person of faith, don't you? I think we all want to be men and women of faith. I think that's something we probably all aspire to be. I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like I'm doing a pretty decent job at that. And maybe like you, sometimes I feel like this endeavor is not going well for me. But that is the goal. So by way of encouragement this evening, let's spend just a couple minutes and talk about, hey, what does a life of faith actually look like? Like how do we manifest that? How can we show that? How can we determine if we're our people of faith? And so when we talk about faith in the Bible, where do you go to? Hebrews chapter 11, right, Dan? Hebrews chapter 11. Great passage, common passage about faith. For one, it gives us the definition of what faith is in verse 1. In verse 6, it talks about faith. And then, maybe even more poignantly, it describes or it demonstrates what does a life of faith look like? How does that manifest itself? The demonstration of our faith. So, check my math here, but I think 16 individuals are mentioned. 16 individuals, then a group of people is mentioned as well, to be fair, of people that exemplified faith, right? So we're familiar with this. Every one of them starts off with what? By faith, ... and then describes what happened. I'm in Hebrews chapter 11 again. In verse 13, just a couple verses, make this quick for us. Verse 13 says, these all died, talking about these individuals, the ones that are mentioned before and the ones after it, I would assume as well. All these died in faith, not having received the promise, but having seen them and greeted them from afar, and having knowledge that they were strangers and exiles on the earth. For people who speak thus make it clear they are seeking a homeland. If they had been thinking of that land from which they had gone out, they would have had opportunity to return. But as it is, they desire a better country, that is a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared for them a city. Powerful words, powerful attributes here. So again, what does a life of faith look like? How can we have this same faith? So I jotted down 3 observations, just generalizations, maybe a better term to use, at a macro level that I'm going to focus in on for myself, and maybe this will help you tonight as well. First thing, these individuals in this Hebrews chapter 11, chapter of faith, number 1, they all had a sojourner's mentality. A sojourner's mentality, or exile, or stranger, or a wanderer, same term is used depending on the translations you look at. They had this mindset wherever they went. Wherever they went. You think about Abraham and Moses, men, again, strangers in a foreign land, it says. You think about maybe even not only in a geographical sense, but maybe in a spiritual sense as well. At the beginning, at least with Abraham, a family of probably paganism and things of that nature. The point is, we too must be strangers. We too must be sojourners. We too must be aliens. We need to make sure we don't have an attachment to this world. I think so many people, it seems anyway, view right here, right now, this is our forever home. This is our forever home, and let's make sure we don't do that. So, a sojourner's mentality. Number 2, these people were looking for a better country. They're looking for a better place. Not this place, but something even better, something that is better. We just talked about the announcements. We live in a world where there's pain, there's suffering, there's injustices around us, and a sojourner is someone that he or she realizes that and is looking forward to something else. Sadly, in the world, it seems often, right? It seems sometimes to me anyway, maybe to you, evil people prosper, righteous people suffer. Right? And so we see that a lot in the book of Ecclesiastes. The wise man talks about vanity of vanities in that thing. So I guess my point is, let's not focus on the good or the bad, for that matter. Let's focus on where our home actually is, somewhere better, because we have a hope. Final thing, number 3, these individuals, they embraced God's promises. As we just read about, verse 13 tells us that God's promises and his rewards are not always short-term objectives or goals, right? They're not always experienced in the short term. Too often, I think, maybe we get impatient with God. Hey, when's this going to work out for our benefit for something of that nature? Let's remember that God's track record is perfect. God always keeps his promises. These people of faith that we hear again in chapter 11 here understood the value of God's promises, even though they may not have seen those promises directly. These people allowed faith to shape and guard, or I should say guide, but guard as well, their lives. So there you have it. Nothing groundbreaking. But I would encourage all of us, let's be a people. Let's be people of faith. Let's have a sojourner's mentality. Let's desire something better, a better country, and let's embrace God's promises. Again, as we just read in verse 13, it said these people all died in faith. I want to die in faith, and I'm guessing you do too. I want that said about me when it's my time is gone. Jordan died in faith. And so the question is, how do we die in faith? The only answer I can come up with is because we live in faith. If you live in faith, you'll die in faith. So I'm going to focus on that this week. Maybe it'll help you as well. So if we can help you live in faith, to have a better faith, to have a more purpose-driven faith, if we can do anything for you to help you be right with God, let us know if we can do anything while we stand and while we sing.